Yo, what is up guys? It is Nick or the Notorious Fantasy back in today with another fantasy football video. This video is week 6 quarterback start or sit decisions. So I'm going to go through every single matchup from Sunday to Monday so that you guys can get those smarts in on who you're going to start and sit at the quarterback position. Now before I get into the video, I'd like to give you guys a word from my sponsor, Overlay DFS. Are you tired of having to pick the perfect player at every single position in order to win on salary cap DFS? Are you tired of having your salary cap lineup out of the running to win that money in the first 5 minutes of the games? Does playing salary cap DFS feel like a job and not even a game? Want a fantasy game where pros with 150 lineups and computer generated programs can't dominate? OverlayDFS.com has a new revolutionary start sit game for fantasy sports. They're the home of the single entry GPP. How do you play? Like I said, it's a simple start sit format. You make 12 start sit decisions from the 30 plus matchups presented like you can see on my screen right now for week 6. A win, loss, or tie will be awarded to your overall record for each decision you make. Records in the top 10% of users win 9 times your buy-in. 12-0 records win GTD progressive bonus. All matchups are player versus player who will have the most total fantasy points. Usually 8-4 records are good enough to get that cash. Sometimes 7-5. Other times 9-3, depending on the week. You make 12 picks in the matchups options listed. For example, for week 6, it could be Pat Mahomes versus Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield versus Andy Dalton, Dalvin Cook versus Alvin Kamara, and many, many more. The object is to stay consistent and finish in the top 10% of the field to win 9 times your buy-in until the stars align and you go that beautiful 12-0. Right now, if you go a perfect 12-0 in the $109 game, you'll win the progressive bonus of over $26,000. They have buy-ins at all levels. If no one hits the perfect 12-0 record of the progressive bonus, keeps growing and growing and growing until it gets hit. It's like the super contest, but for DFS. Don't get shut out. Visit www.overlaydfs.com today. And we are Bike. Make sure to check out overlaydfs.com down below in the description. It's very fun. They even have an app. Check that out down below. Let's get into this week 6 quarterback start or sit. So we're going to the early Sunday game in London, Panthers at Buccaneers. I'm going to be starting both quarterbacks in this game. Famous Jameis and potential to be a top 12 guy this week. He looked pretty solid last week. Looked great the week before against the Rams. I think he's in for another pretty solid game against the Panthers defense. I think that Mike Evans is going to get the ball a lot more, and I think that Jameis Winston is in for a pretty huge game here against the Panthers. Now, Kyle Allen is a guy, he's more of a deeper league start. If you're in a 14-team league, go ahead and start him. If you're in a 12-team league and you're in a pickle, go ahead and start him. In a 10-team league, he's probably off the table, same with an 8-team league, but I do think Kyle Allen has some value. The Buccaneers defense has looked good, but Kyle Allen looked good 2 weeks ago. He hasn't looked good the past couple of weeks, but I think that this week against the Buccaneers defense, I think Kyle Allen can get it done. Now, you do have to take in mind the fact that they are playing in London. They're playing in England, and wonky shit happens there. Blake Bortles is the king of England. He's not the greatest quarterback, but he always dominates there. Will Kyle Allen or Jameis Winston step up to the plate and become the new king of England? Who knows? But last week we saw the Bears at Raiders be a very wonky game that the Raiders won, so I think anything could really happen in this game, but I do hope and I do think that Jameis Winston and Kyle Allen are good starts this week. Next game here is the Skins at my Miami Dolphins. I'm going to be sitting both quarterbacks in this matchup. Now, this is a game that I think has potential to be slightly high scoring because both teams just don't have a good defense. But at the end of the day, starting either of these defenses is just chasing the glory. By defenses, I mean quarterbacks. They're just chasing all the glory. Josh Rosen has not performed at all for a fantasy football basis. Case Keenum has before, but at the same time, I feel like if he throws like a pick or two, maybe the coach will just pull him. I know it's not Gruden anymore. It's a new guy, but they may end up pulling him as well. I'm not too super confident in this. Unless you're in a really deep league, I don't want anything to do with Case Keenum. I'm sitting him in pretty much any league unless you're in like a 20-team league. Now, next game here is the Saints at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm going to be starting up Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew, the absolute Minshew mania has literally been so crazy. Gardner Minshew is a guy that has been really performing in fantasy football, 16 plus points every single game. I think he's a guy that's going to be able to get it done against the Saints defense this week. And we are going to be sitting down Teddy Bridgewater in this game. I know he scored 4 touchdowns last week. I know some people will be calling Teddy Bridgewater's name in their fantasy lineup, but I think that is a false move. I think you can't base everything off of one week. Gardner Minshew we're basing off of ever since, even once Nick Foles went out. He played great since week one. Teddy Bridgewater had one great game, and people are calling for him to be a start this week. No, 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 no. You are much smarter than them. You are going to be starting Gardner Minshew in this game and leaving Teddy Bridgewater on the bench. Next game here is the Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm obviously here. It's going to be starting Lamar Jackson. The Bengals defense looks terrible. Lamar Jackson looks fucking legitimately good with his legs, throwing the ball. Either way, Lamar Jackson's going to be able to get it done against the Bengals. Not too much to say about him. We're going to be sitting down Andy Dalton. Now, last week, Andy Dalton did end up performing pretty good due to that two garbage time touchdowns at the end of the game. Will he be able to get that against the Ravens? I am not too sure about it. So I'm definitely sitting Andy Dalton unless you're in quite the pickle. Even then, there are a lot of other guys I am looking for over him. Now we get to the Seahawks at the Browns. I'm going to be starting Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is an every single week start. He has been performing up to the highest level. Last week against the Rams, played a phenomenal game on Thursday night. I think that Russell Wilson is a guy that obviously, just like the quarterback we were talking about before, has that rushing ability. Now, Russell Wilson is going to just run the ball 9,000 times, even though Coach Carroll is going to try to run the ball a million times. But he's going to be able to throw it. He has wide receivers like Lockett, DK Metcalf. The Browns defense has looked soft. The 49ers dominated them. I think that the Seahawks have their way with the Browns easily in this game. Now, I'm going to be sitting down Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's a guy that I'm willing to cut in a lot of situations. Baker Mayfield has not performed up to my liking, up to anyone's liking. Last week, people called him Baker, negative fantasy point maker. I saw that on Twitter a few times. He is not looking good. I don't want anything to do with Baker Mayfield, especially against the Seahawks defense that has looked pretty decent. Now, next game here is the Eagles at the Minnesota Vikings, and we are going to be going with both quarterbacks in this matchup as starts. Carson Wentz of the Eagles has looked decent thus far this season. Now, the Vikings do have a good defense against the run, but their pass defense is very so. I think Carson Wentz will be able to put up a decent game here this week. Now, Kirk Cousins is also dealing with a problem where the Eagles' defense is also very good against the run. Dalvin Cook is going to get smacked up. Now, the Vikings' defense is obviously better against the pass than the Eagles' defense, but that is not even part of the conversation because Kirk Cousins is going to have to throw the ball. The Eagles' defense is strong against the run. Dalvin Cook may end up not having the greatest performance in this game, but Kirk Cousins is going to say, "You like that?" after he puts up 2 touchdowns, 250 yards, and just is worth that start. Puts up a quarterback 10 on the week, and plays good enough for you to win your fantasy game, and that's all you got to worry about. You're not going to be worrying about Stephon Diggs or Adam Thielen. All you have is Kirk Cousins, and he should be fine this week. You like that? Knock one time if you're with me. Next game here is the Texans at the Chiefs. A high scoring matchup should be here in Kansas City. Now, I'm going to be starting both Deshaun Watson and Pat Mahomes, but I am tempering my expectations on Pat Mahomes, given this ankle injury seemed to look like it was really hurting him once he got hurt at the beginning of the game against the Colts on Monday or Sunday night that was. I think that Pat Mahomes, if the ankle injury is a major problem, will definitely have less production, less value this week, but he may be able to recover, and he should still look good enough to be a start this game against a Houston Texans defense. Now, Deshaun Watson absolutely tore it up last week, throwing touchdowns to Mr. Will Fuller. This week, I think D-Hop will get some of his, and I think that Deshaun Watson has that rushing upside, that throwing upside. The Chiefs defense doesn't look good against the run in the slightest. Did not really look all that good against the pass against the Lions. Obviously, last week they looked good against Jacoby Brissett, but they were just confident on running the ball. The Colts, I think that the Texans can't really just sit there and put the fucking pedal to the metal and run the ball a million times. I think they're going to have to throw, and Deshaun Watson is definitely going to be able to get that done this week. Next game, here's the Falcons at the Cardinals, and I love both quarterbacks in this matchup as well. The Cardinals defense, terrible. Matt Ryan obviously has not looked the best in real life, but for fantasy, he's done fine because he's been throwing them touchdowns, throwing them yards, looking Julio Jones' way. I think Matt Ryan is in for a huge game this week against the Cardinals. Same could be said about Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler Murray's a guy where his ceiling is the fucking moon. He can hit the moon, but his floor is very low. Even with that rushing upside, he could end up throwing some picks and really disappointing you. But the Falcons defense has not looked good at all, and I think Kyler Murray could do it on the ground by running the ball, throwing the ball. He can look great this game. Kyler Murray is definitely a guy that I think could potentially be the number one, number two guy in fantasy football this week, and he's even a guy that is available in some leagues that you could just go ahead and pick him up. So I really do like him this week against the Falcons. Next game here is the 49ers at the Rams. I'm comfortable starting both quarterbacks in this game. Jimmy G spot has looked good in the past couple of games. I think he's going to be able to get it done against the Rams this week. Now, the Rams defense has been pretty good against quarterbacks, but they've had some soft matchups at the beginning of the season that really help that. Mr. Jameis Winston looked good against them. Russell Wilson looked good against them last week, so I think Jimmy G should be able to get it done, especially if they're trying to run the ball a lot. Then they're going to be scared running some play action plays. The Rams defense is going to be scared. George Kittle is going to be wide open, and Jimmy G will look good. Jared Goff, on the other hand, should be in for a pretty good game. I believe Brandon Cooks will be in for this bout on Sunday. I think that Jared Goff, with all of his targets out there, especially with Gurley hurt, I think Jared Goff will be in for a pretty big game because they're going to be looking hit towards him to throw the ball a lot more. Next game here is the Titans at the Denver Broncos. I'm sitting both of these sorry quarterbacks in this game. Marcus Mariota is a guy that some people will claim is going to be a good start. Some people will claim Marcus Mariota should not be benched for Ryan Tannehill, but I don't think so. I don't think Mariota is a good quarterback, so he's definitely a sit in this game against the Broncos. And Joe Flacco is facing a Titans defense that looks very, very good. I think that Joe Flacco is not in for a huge game. Joe Flacco is not a guy you want to start in fantasy any given week. So against the Titans, against a good defense, he's definitely a sit for me. Next game here is the Cowboys at the New York Football Jets. Sammy Darnold is getting back. Sammy Mono, I like to say, is back, but he's going to be sitting on the bench just like he's been sitting his bed for the last 4 weeks because he had mono. He went and made out with some high school chicks. Obviously, that's not what he actually did. Let's hope that's not what he did. I'm just making a joke. But we're going to also be starting Dak Prescott in this game. Dak Prescott, even against a tough matchup in the Green Bay Packers, ended up producing in that game. I think he produces this week against the Jumbo Jets. Now, some people will be like, the Jets defense is ranked number 10 by DVOA. They're going to be so great against Dak Prescott. No, Dak Prescott is going to have his way with that defense. I can promise you that. Next game here is the Steelers at the LA Chargers. Now, the Steelers, Mason Rudolph got absolutely clapped last week. I'm surprised he was even able to stand and walk and somewhat walk out of the fucking into the locker room. I'm surprised he has been going to practice, showing up. I think obviously Devlin Hodges is going to be the one that gets the nod to play, so I'm sitting him. But I'm going to be starting Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers, the man with 12 kids, the man that never stops that guy is going to look great this week against the Steelers. Now, the Steelers defense hasn't looked that great. A few weeks ago, they looked good against the Bengals, but that was the Bengals. Last week did not look so hot. I think Philip Rivers is going to be able to have his way with the Steelers this week. I think Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler are all going to be great starts against this Steelers defense, especially since Devlin Hodges is probably going to turn the ball over a few times. Final game here is the Monday Night Football matchup between the Lions and the Green Bay Packers. I know some people will claim, oh, I've already seen this because, Nick, you're a fucking idiot. And in the tight end video, you accidentally put the quarterbacks in your tight end video, you fuck. Yeah, I know, I'm so stupid, but that did happen. But I am going to go over it again. Aaron Rodgers definitely a start in this game. Aaron Rodgers has not looked too hot. Some people claim Aaron Rodgers is done for. Aaron Rodgers needs to do a discount double check, get off the NFL, go back to those State Farm commercials. But what I think is Aaron Rodgers in for a pretty good matchup against the Lions. Some people claim that the Lions defense is really good. If they're going to be great against Aaron Rodgers. I don't think so. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to dominate in this game. Obviously, if Devontae Adams was in this game, I'd be super confident in him, way more confident. It seems like Devontae Adams is leaning towards out, but I think he's still a fine start in this game. You can do a lot worse than Aaron Rodgers. Now, Matt Stafford is also a start, but he has the next to him because I'm not 100% sure he's going to be able to be a top 12 or 14 guy. Obviously, in a lot of leagues, He's going to be a guy that you are stuck with, and you're just going to hope that he plays good against the Packers. The Packers have a solid defense, but I still think Matt Stafford has looked good enough this season to be able to throw 2 touchdowns in this game and look pretty solid. Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay have looked good thus far this season. I think Kerryon Johnson is enough of a threat on the ground to keep the Packers guessing. Last week, Dak even put up a solid game against the Packers, and personally, I think Matt Stafford is better than Dak Prescott and will be able to get it done. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If at any point you ended up enjoying, make sure to click that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, make sure to check out my sponsor, OverlayDFS.com. They're amazing people over there. I love playing on that website, and I love all of you guys. It really means a lot, all the support you guys have been showing. Right now, we're at 2,300 subscribers. Let's try to hit 2,400 subscribers. Then we're going to hit 3,000 subscribers, and then we're going to hit the fucking moon. I love all of you guys. Hopefully, everyone has a great week 6. Hopefully, you come back to watch all the videos. Have a great day, guys. Goodbye.